good to see that we'll have Van Aert back at some sort of high level in 2025, presumably, if he can stop crashing between now and Flanders and Roubaix. I mean, while we're on this, like, how much pressure is on him for Flanders and Roubaix? Like, if he doesn't win one of those this year, does it start to get a little uncomfortable back at home in Belgium?
I mean, everybody expects him to win, and he expects it in the first place, he himself. That's basically what people want.
Everybody, welcome back to the Move Plus. I'm Spencer Martin. I'm here with Johan Bruyneel on our weekly show. We're catching up on a few news items like the potential return of One Cycling, Wout van Aert looking pretty good, Caleb Ewan missing, Remco Evenepoel back on the bike, and Tim Merlier's schedule and contract renewal for the foreseeable future. But first, let's talk about our partner for the week. Johan, do you want to introduce them? You have a close relationship with this company?
Yes. I want to thank Zwift, our presenting sponsor for the Move Plus. I'm using Zwift now in the off-season quite a bit, especially since Zwift just released the Zwift Ride. This is an all-new smart bike, which is basically changing the indoor game and making it easier and more affordable than ever before to start riding indoors. Now, especially with the cold winter days when riding outdoors is a little bit more of a challenge, Zwift has the perfect solution for all of us. This bike is ultra quiet and super easy to set up. You just need one tool. It's called the frame key to build it all and to make any adjustments to saddle height, bar height, or reach. You can share the bike with other people in your family, and once you're done, that frame key goes back into the slot, into a magnetic holder, so you will never lose it. This adjustability makes Zwift Ride perfect for anyone in the house to use it, and at $1299.99, it's a game changer. So head over to Zwift.com to check it out. And also join us for our We Do rides. On Wednesday, we have We Do Wednesday, which is a 1 hour casual ride. And on Sundays, for those who are a little bit more hardcore, stuff for Sundays, I think it's 2.5 to 3 hours, really, really hard. But so we have those two events on Wednesdays and Sundays. For those who want to join the We Do community, I'm usually trying to join the We Do Wednesdays. A few weeks ago, we actually also had the honor of having a surprise appearance of Adrie van der Poel, the dad of Mathieu van der Poel, who joined us for We Do Wednesdays. So check it out and sign up for those rides.
Yeah, we Do Wednesday. We might have to get the whole Van der Poel family in there. Let's see how it goes. Audrey was complaining about perhaps the pace being a little hot. I can attest.
I saw Audrey in Belgium, and we talked about it. I saw him at the start of the cyclocross race, and he said that it was a tiny bit too fast. I agree. It's supposed to be a coffee ride. Let me tell you, the way it's going, it's not a coffee ride anymore. So we may have to restore a little bit of order there and make sure that it's still a coffee ride. And at the end, let's say in the last 10 minutes, then if people want to go full gas, that's probably better. So I'll have to talk to the people, to the team leaders who head those rides. But We Do Wednesdays is fun. I like it.
And just to talk about one more partner before we get into it, Johan and I, we are kicking off our 2024 challenge completed to see who could get the most miles. That's where We Do Wednesday and Suffer Sunday come into effect. But 2025, it's a new year. And how have I been getting an edge on you? I've been getting sleep, Johan, with my Helix Sleep mattress. I went on their website, helixsleep.com. I filled out the sleep quiz. Very easy to do. And they send you a personalized mattress right to your door, free of charge. You get a 100-night trial. So if you don't like it, you can send it back. Very easy, but you will like it, I promise. And it allows you to recover if you have different temperature needs than your partner, which is if you sleep in the same bed with someone, very low percentage chance you guys like to sleep at the same temperature. You can adjust that with Helix Sleep. It's fantastic. They also have kids mattresses that are approved by child sleep experts. And if you have young children, I can promise you there's nothing more important. The most important thing to your sleep is your kid sleeping. So that's a no-brainer purchase. And if you want to do that, you get 25% off any purchase using code HelixPartner25. Plus, each mattress order comes with 2 free dream pillows. It's a $150 value. You redeem that at helixsleep.com/themove, helixsleep.com/themove, and use code HelixPartner25 to get 25% off any purchase. But Johan, back to the show. Before we get into this and talk about a few more, tangible racing things, I had forgotten about this, but we talked extensively maybe 2 years ago about this this mysterious One Cycling movement or company. It's a little unclear what it is, but a recent story in the Escape Collective, they had one piece of, actually 2 pieces of 2 facts that really stuck out to me. The first one is their source said the Saudi, I'm trying to find the name of this right now. It's a subsidiary of PIF, but it is the Saudi Sports Investment Fund. Apparently, it's going to invest 300 million euros in this. SURJ Sports Investment, a subsidiary of Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, which is PIF. They apparently have an investment imminent in this. But before we get into that, can you just tell us, what would this look like? That's the one thing I have a hard time kind of imagining.
Yeah, I'm also in the dark. I've heard the rumors a few years ago. It's been quiet after that. We all know that ASO is not a part of it, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But what I've heard is that they have kept going on. It's still very much alive. The 300 million is also a number I've heard, and I guess it's just a matter of getting started and getting all the teams together as partners, together with probably some races. The last thing I've heard, and it's a rumor, it's not confirmed, but I've heard that RCS, the owner and organizer of all the races in Italy, the Giro, Tour of Lombardy, Milan-San Remo, Tirreno, also owner of La Gazzetta dello Sport, for example, the newspaper, they are considering selling their races to this One Cycling project. So that would mean that One Cycling becomes a pretty powerful partner, not at the same level as ASO, but still, it's a pretty good start. I could perfectly see also a joint cooperation between One Cycling and Flanders Classics, which is a completely different organization. Also, they own all the classics, Tour of Flanders, all the classics in Flanders, but mainly Tour of Flanders, and then Tour of Belgium, Tour of Benelux, whatever it's called. A bunch of important races. Gent-Wevelgem, not Paris-Roubaix, not Liège-Bastogne-Liège, because that's ASO. But if those 2 companies, if RCS and Flanders Cycling would join the project, ASO is still in the driver's seat in terms of power, but it becomes, a very relevant party. And that's how the Saudis have started, how PIF has started also with golf. They started this little league, and then finally they kind of forced the PGA?
Yeah, the PGA.
PGA to join them, and now they basically own it, I think. So I could see something similar happening. Now, how would it work exactly? I don't know. But it's definitely an initiative that would put the teams together with those organizers in a more powerful position compared to the monopoly basically of ASO. I think it's good. I think it's good for the balance in the sport. It's never good if all the power is with one party. I'm curious to see, but I think it has a possibility. At some point, they will have to get ASO at the table, and then it's to be seen, what kind of role ASO would play in this whole project.
Yeah, I think let's just putting that on the back burner for a second. I guess the more I think about it, One Cycling, I guess you could imagine it. And Richard Pluga kind of alluded to this with Formula One. He talks a lot about Formula One, but Formula One is just a company that like they own some races. They've started to do it more, but they don't really own any races. Like someone owns the race as the race organizer. Formula One provides them like a standardized operation, like when they sell the TV rights, but it's more, they don't actually have physical product. I guess that's what One Cycling could be. If you're the Tour of Switzerland or you're Flanders Classic, you just plug into this One Cycling ecosystem. They standardize everything. It's probably good for rider safety, but they probably also bundle the TV rights and go out and sell that for you. You just get a check for your TV rights. The piece with RCS, I've long thought, let's say you want to, let's say you're Liberty Media and you own Formula One. And you say, well, could we buy cycling? How would we do that? Let's buy the ASO. Let's buy the Tour de France. But if ASO says no, your next play, I've always thought, is RCS and Flanders Classic. And the way, like 300 million, that actually could be enough to buy RCS's properties probably. But let's say you did that. And let's say you ran the same playbook as you did in golf. Suddenly, the Giro's in July. All the best riders are getting $10 million start fees to go to the Giro. And then I forget the name of this golf league. Live Golf pressured the PGA as they raised the prize purses so high that they forced PGA to raise their prizes to like an unsustainable level. And they just put immense financial pressure on them that way. So in theory, you could do the same thing in cycling. Like RCS could be owned by PIF, essentially, be paying people massive amounts of money to race their races, not ASO races. ASO then either has to just give up and sell out or try to fight them with equal money, but they won't be able to do it. They'll run out of money and it will become unsustainable at some point. So if you were going to do it, there probably is a path there if you wanted to.
Yeah. I think so. Listen, it's still. I mean, the fact that it has resurfaced now is obviously proof that it's still very much going on, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think they'll have to start without ASO, but the fact that they're willing to do that is, in my opinion, a good sign.
Did you catch this other? There was a little tidbit in this report by Chris Marshall-Bell. So at the UCI's World Tour seminar in November, if you remember, I think this was the event that Pogacar was at that he had to leave because anti-doping was at his house. So they've already said in like their Project 2026 report that they want to trim the number of World Tour races. So they say at this seminar that they want 14 new World Tour races. So that means if you just take them at their word, they want to lower the overall level, but then introduce 14 new races. That means if you're an existing race, you might be pretty nervous because I guess a lot of them will have to be cut to make room for these 14 new ones that are coming in.
I don't think they're going to trim the amount of World Tour races because that's pure income for the UCI, Spencer. You know, the UCI owns the World Tour, and any event that wants to be in the World Tour first needs to prove themselves, but especially they need to pay. And
well, do you think there's a lot of races that aren't paying up though, and they might get the boot?
No, I think they're all paying. They're at least they're paying the UCI. I don't know if they're paying the teams or the riders, but the UCI is getting paid. Let me tell you. So I'm not seeing that they're going to do less races, but and I think that initially I don't foresee that there would be a lot of new races anyway in this One Cycling. I think they would probably buy existing races. I've also heard that they want to change the format a little bit, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Basically, to try to make it more attractive for spectators, probably also to be able to charge income. Instead of going the typical races that going from A to B, it would be from A to B, and then at point B there would be a few laps, which I think makes a lot of sense. So I think that's the first step.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that I think is welcome for sure. There's like some sort of circuit. If you're a real purist, you're listening to this, just yelling at us like, no, cycling is about A to B. But man, from a business perspective, like we were talking about last week with these cyclocross races, like, wow, those people have it figured out.
Well, look, very simple, Spencer. Look at the Tour of Flanders. The Tour of Flanders before was always typically from A to B, no local lap. Now they do 3 laps. They changed the whole. I mean, there was a big scandal in Belgium that they didn't do the Mur de Grammont anymore. But it's proven that it's the formula. It's super nice. It's great racing. It's great for the spectators. So I think
they sell tickets, right? To
they
the
sell
best
tickets,
parts now.
and they sell tickets, and there's a lot of VIP arrangements available at different spots. Which usually, if you go from A to B, you can't do that. So.
And I'm sure you're Belgian. You remember this. People were upset about it at the time.
Very
upset.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, you'll run into a few in the wild, but there's very few people that even remember.
No, and the races are a lot more attractive. They're a lot more spectacular now than on the old circuit, when it was basically just a run in into Meerbeke, which was the usual finish line.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. And who knows, like how much modern cycling's changed that? But I do think it's a better finale. Have you been watching? So we talked last week. Mathieu van der Poel, unbelievable, and then hurt, I guess? Question mark. Kind of has bowed out for a little bit. Do you know if he's back in Spain training or what's his status?
He's in Spain training. Apparently, he's put the hurt on his teammates quite a bit. He did crash in Lunhout, where I was. I mean, I saw it afterwards. I didn't see it during the race, but he hit his chest with one of those little posts. But also, I think he's just focused on the World Championships. If he wins the World Championships, that brings him up to 7, which is the record together with Erik de Vlaming. Whether the ribs are really a big hinder or not. But I think he has seen that his level is so high that, if he just maintains his form, does a few good specific trainings, he can jump back in straight away and win, whatever he wants to win. If he wins, 2 or 3 more cyclocross races, that doesn't really matter. I mean, all that counts is the World Championships for him. He can basically not do any crosses anymore and show up at the Worlds and still win the World Championships cross.
Oh yeah, he might be able to sit a lap out and still win.
Well, I mean,
what he's doing is
it always needs to be written, right? But yeah, so he had a few races that he cancelled. Wout van Aert, on the contrary, had 2 really nice wins 2 days after each other in the mud. The first was in Hullegem, which was against Eli Iserbyt at the final. But then especially the one in Dendermonde, which was spectacular. It was a mud fest. It was running, a lot of running. And you could clearly see that this was going to be the strongest guy was going to win. He started from the 4th row. It took him 2 laps to go to the front. And from then on, it was basically a one-man show. And he won with 1.5 minutes on the second. He was really, really strong. And so, for him also, I think it's nice. It's a nice confirmation that his condition is really good. He looked extremely happy, extremely satisfied with his form. And as far as I know, I think he only does one more race, is the race in Benidorm. You just said that there was another race on his program, a World Cup in Maasmechelen, but he's now with his team, with Visma, in the south of Spain, and I think it's next weekend. The race in Benidorm, where Van Aert is going to race, and so he actually won that last year, I think.
Yeah, he did. He was great, and I assume the appeal is you're there already, right?
Training, I mean, he's there. He's going to train there with his team, and he's just going to do a few, I think, 2 or 3. Specific cross trainings somewhere. I mean, even on that circuit, and it's one of the cross races. It's not a real cyclocross. It's a fast. It's a super fast, short gravel race, basically. And so, but yeah, I mean, I'm impressed with Van Aert, especially and then we've talked about it last year. We didn't put the picture up. We can put it up now. I'll send it to Gabriel. We can put it up here. Of his knee. His knee is so damaged after his crash and the surgery he had after the after the Tour of Spain crash. And I'm really impressed with the way he came back and the way he's performing. And let me tell you, to be able to do a cyclocross 1 hour through the mud to run, and that's like, there's no better test for your knee than this. So his knee is perfect.
Yeah, I was really impressed with usually I think, I don't know how much we can read into road cyclist form from cyclocross. Does it even really matter? But in this case, the running, that was a lot of running on that muddy course. The knees got to be feeling pretty good. I was impressed. It's good to see that we'll have Van Aert back at some sort of high level in 2025, presumably, if he can stop crashing between now and Flanders and Roubaix. I mean, while we're on this, like, how much pressure is on him for Flanders and Roubaix? Like, if he doesn't win one of those this year, does it start to get a little uncomfortable back at home in Belgium?
I mean, everybody expects him to win, and he expects it in the first place. He himself, that's basically what people want, and I think he's on the good track. Of course, he has Van der Poel, which he'll have to beat him, and then in Flanders also Pogacar. But these races, it's not pure power to weight. There's a lot of other factors that come into place, and the way he is now preparing the season, basically putting the cyclocross really on a low priority, and usually and just doing the races in function of his preparation for the spring classics. If he can be saved from any bad luck in the spring, I think Van Aert is going to have a great spring campaign.
I hope so. I want to see him do
it. He deserves it.
Yeah. I still don't think people have digested how good he was at that Vuelta. I mean, he would have won the green jersey and KOM jersey and probably 4 stages. Like, that's unbelievable. Not easy to do. Next piece of news, Johan, Caleb Ewan is kind of missing. He doesn't have a program for 2025, not doing the Tour Down Under, not at his Jayco Alula's team at training camp, and not on the website. His rider page doesn't have a photo on the website. But do you have any news on this? Where's Caleb Ewan? What's going on with him? Everybody, this episode is brought to you by Cook Unity. Reset your routine heading into the new year with Cook Unity, who offer an endless variety of vibrant, healthy meals made by award-winning chefs delivered directly to your door. The chefs you see on TV and in 5-star kitchens are the chefs who craft each small batch meal with you in mind, made from local in-season ingredients, sent fresh, not frozen, and delivered directly to you, all at a fraction of the cost and time of going out to eat or making it yourself. I cannot endorse this product enough. I'm going to be honest. I'm incredibly lazy when it comes to doing things that are good for me. I won't eat healthy if left to my own devices, but all I had to do was go on the Cook Unity website. I could pick out what meals I wanted. It was incredibly easy to do. I knew exactly when it was arriving. I can get it to come every week at the same interval. First thing I picked was the Mission Burrito by Chef Jose Garces. It was delicious. I felt like I had a high quality private chef in my own home. I cannot recommend this enough. If you want to eat good, healthy food and do not want to either hire a chef or do the cooking yourself, it can't be beat. So reset your routine with convenient, mouth-watering meals crafted with local ingredients by award-winning chefs by going to cookunity.com/themove or enter code THEMOVE before checkout for 50% off your first week. That's 50% off your first week by using the code MOVE or going to cookunity.com/themove, spelled out THEMOVE, cookunity.com/themove to get 50% off your first week of meals. All right, back to the show.
We don't know what's going on with Caleb Ewan other than what we've seen, but it's clear that something is going on. The first news, that he was not on the list for Down Under, that was already a little bit of an alarm. But then, seeing that he's not on the website now, I've heard rumors that he was negotiating his exit from Jayco to go to Astana. Astana is in need of riders who can score points. They have new money. Chinese money. So I don't know. The rumor is that he was trying to leave, and that then the deal, the supposed deal with Astana and Vinokurov fell apart, and now he has nothing. I checked Jayco Alula, they have 29 riders, so they have one spot, but maybe they're taking advantage of the situation that saying, okay, you wanted to leave, yeah, you're expensive for us. You didn't perform that well. He only won 3 races last year, not great races. Plus, now after some years and changing teams, he's starting to have the reputation of being a difficult guy to manage. So Jayco Alula probably says, okay, you wanted to leave. Now we can't take you back anymore. So I don't really know what's going on, but it's clear that he's if he wants to keep racing, he'll probably find a team, but he will definitely have to lower his salary ambitions. Because I think in total, at Lotto at least, and then, combined whatever Jayco was paying and what Lotto was paying for his exit, it was around 2 million. There's no team who's going to sign Caleb Ewan for 2 million at this point. There's no way.
And presumably Jayco's not paying that full 2 million. So they're getting a discount and they're still not happy with him. But he does have a contract through 2025, correct?
So he does, but who knows if that contract has been cancelled because he was going to go to Astana. We don't know. I mean, the fact that he's not back on the team, and then then it's also the question, if the team has kind of voiced their opinion that they're not super happy with him, then do you absolutely want to go back to a place by force, like forcing your way back in? Yeah, okay, there's a contract, but I don't know. To me, it seems like Caleb Ewan, from what I've heard from people at Lotto and the way it all fell apart, he's not an easy guy to deal with. If I would be a team manager nowadays, I would not want Caleb Ewan on my team.
Well, you can be 2 of the 3: difficult, expensive, good, or win a lot. Yeah. So, yeah, if you win a lot, yeah, sure, you can be difficult and expensive, but you can't be difficult, expensive, and not win. Yeah. Because then, what are we doing here? Like, why are we putting up with this? I mean, he clearly got the B. I mean, they have it. The weird thing about Jayco is they have a very good sprinter. Dylan Groenewegen won stage 6 or 7 of the Tour de France this year. And Caleb Ewan was on the B program. So I don't know if they were not super impressed with what they saw there and didn't want to deal with it for 2025. But it's a strange situation. I mean, This was a guy who finished second at a Tour stage in 2023. He's finished third and second.
And has been second, I think, several times in Milan-San Remo.
Yeah, I think as recently as 2022, right? And he was climbing incredibly well. Was that the right year? No, maybe that was 23. Hold on a second, everybody. Yeah. Man, I'm losing my mind with age. Do you remember? Yes. Okay. 2021 is when he got second, and he might have been like half wheeling people going up the Poggio.
Yeah.
It's weird to watch this unfold. And the fact that he doesn't have a program for the coming year, I would love to know what's going on there. I mean, have you heard anything about this Ineos, that Ineos was thinking about signing him and then that deal fell apart?
I haven't heard it. I don't think Caleb Ewan would be great for Ineos. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan. I mean, he had his years where he was unbelievable in the sprints, where he came out of nowhere and left everybody behind. But as a guy to have on the team, and especially at that price, I've never forgotten, the fact. I think it's 2 years ago in the Tour. He was dropped, and then the team made 2 riders wait for him. And then, at some point, these guys were just waiting for him, dragging him, and then he just all of a sudden decides to abandon and leaves those two guys out in the dry. These guys had to ride for their lives to make it into the time cut. Not a team player. And you know what? If you win a lot of races, then it's okay. But if you win now and then the days you're not in a position to win, you need to be a team player. And that's usually with a sprinter it's difficult, but with a guy like Caleb Ewan, it's even more difficult.
Also, I mean, the hidden dynamic there. Can you imagine you're making 100,000 euros a year? You get called back because a guy making 2 million euros a year is dropped, and then you're with him and he just leaves and you're stuck by yourself. You'd be pretty upset about that. Sometimes I feel like Ewan's not been completely cognizant of the dynamic there. When you're making that much money compared to the rest of your team, like maybe there's some other things you have to make sure are you're taken care of instead of just having everyone be upset with you. But Remco, speaking of a lot of money, Remco Evenepoel back on the bike, on the trainer, 5 weeks after his crash. Is that right, Johan?
Well, I saw the report today that he's given the clear to he can start his rehab and that he can start riding indoors. Personally, I think that knowing how cyclists are and how they think, I think he's probably tried it already. But anyways, he can start riding on indoors on Zwift, which has been proven to be a great alternative for riders who can't ride outdoors. As long as you have the mindset, I have no doubt about the fact that Remco has the mindset to, go hard. He will have to build it up, but it's good news that he can start now. And he has announced that his plan is to start mid-April, I think, his first race in Belgium. Has decided already absolutely no Giro, focus on the Tour, and probably also later on in the World Championships. But definitely good news that he can start training, and once a guy like that starts to be active again, the recovery process is going to speed up. So I'm hopeful that he can be ready for not for the races in February and March, but April. From May on, I think he's going to be turning on all his whatever it is, 6 or 12 cylinders.
Yeah, we need him back by the Tour. That's ideal. We're not going to. I'm curious to see like what this disruption. You're just going to force him to change his preparation and the rhythm of his season. Usually he's so good at those. I think it's usually Algarve where he just comes out flying.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious to see like what he has to change it now. And I don't know, maybe he looks better at the Tour.
The examples are numerous, of people who have been great at the Tour, who have been dealing with an injury in the off season or even in the beginning of the season. So I think for Remco, it's not necessarily a big disadvantage. It could, and knowing how he races and how he trains, it could actually be an advantage to have to be forced to take some more time off now and then have more energy in the tank for when it really matters in July.
Yeah, and then speaking of July, speaking of Remco, the Soudal Quickstep team announced Tim Merlier signed through 2028. And most importantly, going to the Tour in 2025, or at least scheduled to go if he's healthy, if it works out. We were talking just personally. Tim Merlier is a very good sprinter, like very good, much better than people think, because he often just doesn't get the invites to Grand Tours. So I believe the Tour this year starts on a sprint stage in Lille. So Merlier could win that stage and hold the yellow jersey, which I assume was part of the calculus in taking him.
Well, yeah, of course, he's not the only one who wants to win that stage, but, he's notorious to win, the first sprint stage in Grand Tours when he participates. And I think it's great. I think it's a great combination. As we said already many times, Remco is definitely not the favorite for the Tour de France. So, they can have the luxury to take a sprinter to the Tour. If you can win 1 or 2 stages in the first week with your sprinter, it takes a lot of pressure off the team. And it's at the same time, it motivates the team. So I think Merlier is the ideal guy for that. I mean, in my opinion, he's one of the most underrated riders. He's damn good. He's so good, wins so many races, but doesn't have the same charisma or name as as a Philipsen or any other sprinters. But I mean, listen. I mean, the way he won that European Championships was just unbelievable. I'm happy that he's recognized now by the team. A new deal for him and his lead out guy Bert van Lerbergen, who is, by the way, his school friend from like when they're 13, 14 years old. They went to school together, and now they're still racing together in the same team. So yeah, I think it's a good move from Soudal Quickstep to take Merlier to the Tour, and Remco's okay with it. Yeah, I mean, it's not like Soudal Quickstep needs 8 riders that are exclusively dedicated to the GC and need to control the race. There's other teams for that, and as long as Remco is in good shape and he has 2 riders with him in the mountain stages, that's enough. You don't need anything else.
Yeah, no, that's really true. I mean, I'm looking at it. He won the first sprint stage of 2021 Tour, first real sprint stage of the Giro last year. I mean, I think that partially that happens because he's so powerful. Like, he's a really powerful sprinter. And then what happens is, as the Grand Tours go on, someone like Jasper Philipsen or like Caden Groves, the Vuelta is very good at this. Like, they maybe aren't doing the same power output, but they get less worse than everyone. So they get faster relative to other sprinters. Merlier, I did a really in-depth, completely objective ranking of sprinters based on their results in the last 4 years. Merlier ranked pretty low, but only because he just doesn't get a lot of at-bats at World Tour stage races. Like Philipsen gets so many starts, and he did have a bad 2022, which, he did the Vuelta, didn't win a stage, so that sets you back. But the guy's really good. This makes total sense. He's out there mixing it up in the cross, so we know he's fit.
Yeah. Not good rider, really good rider.
All right, into the listener questions. If you want your question to be considered, email us at info@wedo.team, and Elise will send those over to us. First one. Hey, Spencer and Johan, if possible, can you discuss missed opportunities in the peloton? I personally visited the Team Sky Hotel. I think this person's saying during the 2017 Tour when Mikel Landa was on the team. In Spanish, I encouraged him to attack Chris Froome. He laughed, but later in the press conference, he referred to my wish. I've always wondered if he could have won that Tour de France. My question, should riders like Landa occasionally prioritize personal ambitions over team loyalty? Kind regards, Pablo. I think so. I'm pretty sure he's referring to the 2017 Tour. I remember that Tour well because I remember thinking Landa should just attack. He's the strongest rider in the mountains. What is he doing? I assume you're going to have strong opinions about this, Johan, because you've dealt with this within your own team before.
Well, I mean, 2017 was the Froome won that Tour, right?
He won the Tour. It was a really weird year. He wins by 54 seconds over Rigoberto Urán, who won a stage without gears. He just won it stuck in a gear. Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah. But no, I mean, you can't. Landa just can't. He was never in a position to win the Tour. I think didn't he lose that year the podium to Bardet with a few seconds?
Good memory. Yes.
Yeah. So he was strong, but he was never going to win the Tour. I think Landa has never been in a situation where he's been on the podium of Grand Tours. I think the Giro, but Froome. I mean, it was the last time that Froome won the Tour, right? It was his 4th Tour de France, right?
Yeah, because in 2018 was Thomas, 2019 was Bernal.
Yeah. So I mean, if you have a guy who has won already the Tour 3 times, like Chris Froome, he's the absolute leader of the team. There's not a question that he should have attacked at all. I do remember, I think one of those stages was when, and I think actually Bardet won that stage. I think it was I don't remember if it was not to Péragude.
Froome definitely cracked to
where Froome cracked and Landa was not waiting for him. So, I don't know if he didn't see he cracked or, but yeah, no, I mean, you don't attack. That would be super unprofessional. And, as a rider like Landa also knows, and when he went to Sky, he knew what the deal was. He knew what his position was. And on top of that, I've never seen a race where Landa had even the slightest chance to win a Grand Tour. So no, you can't do that.
pretty harsh on Landa. No, you're right. Yeah, it's stage 12. Landa finishes 5 seconds behind Bardet. Froome's 22 seconds back. Didn't wait for him. It was pretty chaotic. So it's a little dicey to go back and be like, why didn't he wait? It's like, well, that's a really steep finish. No one knew what was going on.
It wouldn't have mattered. I mean, on that finish, it wouldn't have mattered if he waited or not. Yeah. It just looked weird, but in terms of time, it was exactly the same thing. Froome cracked and, just had to give it his all to make it to the finish.
I think about that stage a lot because Sky was at the front setting a tempo. It wasn't as hard as their normal tempo. It was almost a false tempo in retrospect because Froome was screwed. As soon as the pace picked up at the finish, he was out the back. If someone would have pressed that earlier, they probably would have dropped him earlier on the climb. And I still don't think they get enough time to win. But it does make you think it's always why are they riding? They know Pogačar is going to drop them like Wiesma at this year's tour. It's you never know. Someone could be on the limit.
Yeah.
And also no one thinks about it okay, you attack Chris Froome and then you don't. What if you lose the race on the final time trial? Because there was a time trial on stage 20. You're like, how embarrassing is that? So you always want to take that into account when weighing that up. Next question, Nick from Denver. Loved our discussion about the top guys coming to lifetime Grand Prix races like Leadville 100 last week when we said, Pogačar would probably clean up. Tom Pidcock would probably clean up. Sorry, Keegan Swenson. But this person asked a question. And the reason I read this is because I feel strongly about how easy it would be for the people he names. So I'm curious on your opinion on how riders like Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert would do at Leadville against Keegan, who in 2023 averaged sea level adjusted 5 watts per kilo for 6 hours. Notably, I think Pogačar is the exception. He could probably do that power. However, I would find it hard to believe that Wout or Van der Poel could climb at 5 watts per kilo for 6 hours consistently. So could they actually win Leadville? Yes, they could. People don't understand how
good they are.
Yeah, because let's say Wout's functional threshold power is probably close to 500 watts. So let's say 77 kilos, he could ride zone 3 and be 5 watts per kilo. I mean, Pogačar could do 5 watts. He said basically in the Peter Attia interview, he could do 5 watts per kilo all day, as a training ride, maybe not even leave zone 2. Yeah. So Van der Poel and Wout, people don't know. I mean, think about Wout van Aert won the double Van Toe stage, and Van Toe is close to an hour each time you go.
Van der Poel was third in Liège-Bastogne-Liège and third in the World Championships. When he had his yellow jersey in the Tour, he was defending the jersey in middle mountain stages. Now the question, I mean, it's all nice to say, okay, Leadville and this, what's his name? Keegan Swenson?
Keegan Swenson.
Yeah.
Good rider.
Okay. Yeah. But good rider, Spencer. But then my question is, why is Keegan Swenson not in the World Tour?
Because Keegan Swenson's really smart.
Why is he not an average rider in the World Tour in the pro peloton if he's that good? I mean, that's somebody would have picked up on it, and any of those guys, any of those gravel riders, if they would have the opportunity to go to the World Tour, they'd take it in a heartbeat. I mean, look, even a guy like the world champion mountain bike, Haggerty. It's Haggerty, no? Alan Haggerty, the South African guy.
Yeah.
He got an opportunity to race pro with Jake Walula and turns pro. He leaves his area where he's the best in the world to go ride with the World Tour Pro. So that's my answer. Why is Keegan Swenson not a World Tour professional? It's obviously he specializes in those kind of races, but let's not forget that those kind of races and gravel races, it is after all It's very nice, but it is a bit where the retired pros get together and try to get another extra 2 or 3 years in their career.
Yeah. We're not trying to dunk on, I didn't read this just so we could dunk on gravelers, but I just want people to understand how good like these non-climbers are at climbing. Like I'm even looking at stage 17 from the 2022 Giro d'Italia. Mathieu van der Poel's in the break. It's a mountain stage with 14,000 feet of climbing. So over 4,000 vertical meters, 5-hour long stage. Van der Poel's in the break and at times was threatening to win that stage. So he probably averaged more than 5 hours watts per kilo for that stage, 5 watts per kilo for 5 hours. Like he could go out and do that on a training ride. Like these guys, their FTPs are so high. Even like Ghana, pushing over 500 watts for an hour, and he could probably get down to like 82 kilos, something like that, and have a pretty decent watts per kilo. So you don't want to underestimate it, how good they are. Like the best climbers now are doing 7 watts per kilo for an hour. So if you're finishing inside the time cut, you're doing pretty good watts per kilo, even for a really long time. You'd be surprised too how when the best guys, when they just dial back the intensity a little bit, how long they can stretch that out for. They could probably do 6 hours pretty high. There was actually Pavel Sivakov was on, I shouldn't do this, but plug a competitor's podcast. He was on Geraint Thomas's podcast talking about his training with UAE, how it's vastly different from his training with Team Sky or Ineos, which was really interesting to hear. But basically, he said they have him go out and ride really hard for a really long time, and they eat a lot of carbs. And that's the way people train now. Last question. This one's pretty interesting. I think about this a lot. How many Tour de France stages equals an overall Tour victory? Obviously, there's no right answer there. It's just all theoretical. Meaning, did Mark Cavendish or Geraint Thomas have a better career? Follow-up question, if Cav's record beats G, is Geraint's 1 Tour victory better than Marcel Kittle's 14 stage wins?
Yeah.
So just for context, Cavendish has 35 Tour stage wins. Geraint Thomas won that race one time.
It's clear to me that Cavendish winning 35 stages in the Tour beats Geraint Thomas 1 Tour de France victory. I think I'm pretty sure that Geraint Thomas would agree with that himself. Geraint Thomas, he was first, he was second, he was third in the Tour. He did all the places on the podium. This is another of those riders who is really underrated. He's still around, he's still up there. He was still third in the Giro, but he's not that flashy, charismatic champion, right? Which Cavendish is a bit different. But in terms of value, winning the Tour is the maximum. But winning 35 stages as Cavendish, plus I the other races he's won. Plus, he won Milan-San Remo, he won the World Championships. I would rate that over 1 Tour de France victory for sure.
Yeah, I guess the question should be, you go to someone like Remco Evenepoel and you say, would you rather win the Tour 1 time or 15 Tour stages? You can choose one right now.
He would choose the Tour de France win for sure.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Geraint Thomas. It's so big in their countries where they're from too, that they're legends now. If Remco does it, he's a legend in Belgium.
Yeah, Mark Cavendish is Sir Mark Cavendish, and Geraint Thomas is, what is it? MBE, member of the British Empire.
Yeah, isn't it Wiggins though, Sir?
Well, yeah, there's three cyclists that are Sir. It's Wiggins, Cavendish, and Chris Hoy. Those are the 3 cyclists who have been crowned by the Queen and the King.
It's an interesting. I would almost say put it in buckets of 10, maybe 10 Tour stage wins equals 1 Tour overall win. So would you rather win 4 overall tours or 35 stages? Well, maybe that nets out about equal.
Yeah, I don't know. No, but if you look at, for example, Marcel Kittel, how many stages did he win?
14, which I had forgotten, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would rate the Tour de France victory of Geraint Thomas higher than 14 Tour de France stages.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair because I forgot Kittel won all those stages. I will never forget. I'll be on my deathbed. I'll remember Geraint Thomas winning that tour. I'll never forget it. He was good too. Remember, he won 2 consecutive mountain stages.
Oh, he was amazing. He
said he did 1,400 watts at the top of Alpe d'Huez in that sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, underrated. He's actually getting better. I mean, this whole style doesn't flash. It's also doesn't help him. If Pogacar and Vingegaard didn't exist, it would be like, oh my, he's so explosive, but he just doesn't look explosive because they're going faster. Yeah. The crazy thing about this question, Pogacar is like doing it. He's doing the theoretical in real life. He already has 17 Tour stage wins and 3 overall victories. So by the end of this year, he could have 4 Tour overall wins and over 20 stages. Like he could marry like Hinault and Cavendish's Tour accomplishments. It's ridiculous to think about.
Yeah. Well, let's see. It's still, every year it's a new year. It needs to be ridden. A lot of things can happen. The rumors I hear is that Pogacar is amazingly strong, that he's still going up. His level is still improving. So everybody has their work cut out, but it's cycling. It's not an exact science. It's not mathematics. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's something I was thinking about. You were really sick recently, and you got sick after a trip to the Costa Blanca. Like, there's probably a lot of pros that got the same illness, and might have
half of Europe is sick, Spencer.
Yeah, like it will affect the beginning of the year. You'll see people underperform because of that.
Yeah.
If you want a hot betting tip, figure out who's been sick with Johan's illness and then don't bet on them to win early season races. But do you have anything else to add, Johan, before we take off?
That's it for me, Spencer.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will be back next week, which I believe, if you can believe us, that's the last week when there's no World Tour racing. Because the week after that, the Tour Down Under. No. Sorry, there's 2 more weeks before the Tour Down Under, but it's coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the road season started already in Australia with the national championships. I think the 6th Australian title for Luke Plapp.
Yeah.
At 24 years old, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, if only we could get him a win out of that continent. Yeah. They just pencil him in for both the road and the time trial. The guy's incredible on those courses. But we will be back. We'll keep doing the weekly rhythm through these early races too. And we kind of the idea is that it will give us a platform to talk about the races when they're interesting, but we don't have to just talk about them. We can talk about other things if they're more interesting. So cool. We'll talk soon. And thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.